Here's a 5-part strategy to turn your nonprofit social media into something that actually produces new donors, dollars, and data, not just impressions. We do this every day at Good United, and nonprofits running it see about 90% net new supporters and roughly 10 times lower the cost of acquisition. That's not a better billboard, it's a different channel. Let's get into it. So Good United became Meta's first social good partner in 2021. And the reason why is because we know that people have shifted to Meta. They shifted to social media. And a way to think about it, as we think about unlocking the black box of social media, is that there's really two ways to go about it. There's one-to-one versus one-to-many. So we think about one-to-one, I like to think about more about LinkedIn, right? It's an individual, Nick Black, reaching out to another individual. With one-to-many, it's a organization like Stop Story Suicide reaching out to an individual at scale. So LinkedIn, I think, especially for development. If you're a smaller organization, I would focus all in on LinkedIn. If you're a larger organization, we have our fundraising team all in on LinkedIn, and we have our marketing team really unlocking Meta. Now, here's the challenge. I talk to a lot of different organizations. They talk to me about Snapchat or TikTok or these other channels. And then I ask them, do you do anything well? No, we don't do anything, right? So here's the challenge and the opportunity. Simplify. There's a great quote by Warren Buffett that says diversification for people that don't know what they're doing. So just do one thing really well. Pick one channel. Start with one. If you're a little bit of scale, you got a development and a marketing department, maybe do LinkedIn and Meta, but don't do any more, right? Ignore the rest. Focus. So we need to create focus. Now, we're working within one channel or two if you're any kind of scale. We need to shift our mindset. Today, we think about broadcast. We talk at people. We push messages out. And what do we get in return? Nothing, right? So the reason why we get nothing is we don't have a conversion layer. We think about our website. The value of a website isn't the traffic. The value of the conversions. Well, what drives the conversions? It's email. So email is a conversion layer for your website. What email does for your website is what direct messaging does for social. And the big leap of faith that you have to take is that the powers that be that own social media care about money. Huge leap, right? So if they care about money, they make it when you keep people in their network. They lose it when you send people out. As such, they have built and vertically integrated direct messaging applications within their networks. LinkedIn messaging for LinkedIn, Facebook Messenger for Facebook, Instagram DM for Instagram. And that is the conversion layer to go from unknown engagement or traffic to named individuals. Now, as we think about being able to start driving this engagement, driving these conversions, every single piece of content that you have has a job. It's no longer good enough just to post for posting's sake. Every post should convert. Every post is an opportunity to drive acquisition. Now, the question is, why would someone convert? So we need to take a fundraiser mindset. We need to be able to meet people, not just in their preferred channel, but in the context of where they're at. We need to, instead of talk at, talk with. We need to ask questions. So each piece of content should be designed to start a conversation. And it's simple. If you don't have a question mark in your copy, you're wrong. So your content to a conversation. That conversation, you earn the opportunity for someone to subscribe. When they subscribe, we don't want to talk at them and ask them immediately for a $30 gift. That doesn't work anywhere. But for some reason, we think it works in the digital world. It doesn't. We need to ask people their story, how they want to get involved. And that's going to lead to an activation. And the best part about this, and also the biggest challenge, is that within direct messaging, people open what you send them. With over 80% open rates to 40% click-through rates, the message better be good, so make it meaningful. A couple of years ago, I met with the Chief Development Officer and Chief Marketing Officer at a top 10 nonprofit in the United States. And I asked the development officer, if I gave you a magic wand, what do you need to achieve this year? And she looked at me and said, Nick, we need to find 30,000 new donors, 30,000 new supporters. And I said, oh, wow. I said, what if I told you that you had 2.8 million people that have already taken that first step? And probably over 90% of them are new. And she looked at me and she goes, what are you talking about? Where are they? Then I looked at the Chief Marketing Officer, looked back at the Development Officer, right? So I'm waiting for someone to hop in. And I said, well, they're already your followers. And they both kind of giggled. What's the value of that? Well, we know that people shifted to social, and a follower has taken that first step. They've taken an action to engage with your content, with your brand. Now, the challenge is, right? They've opened the door for the relationship. Now we need to get them inside. And many people talk about socials, that we have this rented audience. Why do we keep investing into this? We don't know who these people are, right? We need to turn them into owned audience. Awesome. Then we need to go from anonymous to known. And the way to do that is, again, implementing that conversion layer. No one would have a website without email. No one, right? The worst nonprofit on the planet, you still have an email conversion mechanism. Otherwise, what are you going to do with traffic? Nothing. So what email does to your website is what direct messaging does to social. And it turns that anonymous follower, that anonymous social user, into a named individual. And once they convert, once they become a subscriber, we go from rented to owned. Then we also have the opportunity to build a relationship. And it's important, right? We start with a relationship that tees up to ask. What we don't want to do is start with the ask, then expect a relationship. It doesn't work like that in our daily life. But for some reason, we think it should in a digital landscape, because we've all been conditioned to run these funnels, these digital funnels, these waterfalls, and we treat everyone like a number. And what do we get, right? We get diminishing returns because people stop opening what we send them. So the opportunity with the direct messaging is that people open what you send them, so steward them first. Engage on their terms where they spend time. And as we think about engaging with them in this channel, we also want to figure out how to build an omni-channel presence around them. Just because they're a subscriber doesn't mean they shouldn't also be getting your emails. Just someone in email, doesn't mean they shouldn't be getting your direct messages. We have opportunity to use these different paths to be able to build relationships. Not to drive someone to conversion, but to build a relationship that tees up an opportunity. Because what we don't want is diminishing returns that we ask people to give and to give and give and give and give, and they don't give anymore. We want to build a relationship where the value goes up over time. And we've seen that firsthand. One organization was able to turn their followers into named individuals with over 95,000 new supporters in 4 months. It can happen. Meet people in their preferred channel, keep them there, and build a relationship. It's that easy. Okay. What's my experience today as someone that gets involved with a nonprofit? So I'll opt into an email, or I'll make a gift and opt into an email communication as well. And then what happens? Well, I keep getting emails. Well, the email's about asking me to give again and give again and give again. And the average nonprofit sends 63 emails a year. So if I like 5 nonprofits, that's way too many emails that I'm getting. And everyone's asking me to give. So what do? I stop giving. And what we can feel, right, as nonprofit professionals is that the diminishing returns, and that when someone comes in, we're just going to drive them to the bottom. And if they stop engaging, what are we going to do? We're going to send them more emails. We're going to do it more, right? And no wonder we are working in a world where we're seeing less people giving and getting involved. So we need to shift from broadcast to conversations and start building relationships. And when we think about direct messaging, it all starts with that first opt-in. We want to ask people, right? What's your story? We want to understand their story so we can start to drive segmentation. Think about if you went to a cocktail party, you're going to get to know people. And you're going to start to figure out, what are the commonalities? Was that person go to a certain college? Are they from a different place, right? But you're going to start to be able to bucket people in the different areas, right? To understand them better. Why? So that you can follow up and meet them on their terms. If you knew someone went to Ohio State, don't talk about Michigan, right? Talk about Ohio State. That's segmentation. And we can do that at scale in direct messaging, so that we can find the right person and at the right time send the right message to create that meaningful experience. It doesn't need to be a glorious thing. It just needs to meet them with what they've shared. Who are they? Meet them on the basic level. And when we do that, we can fundamentally change the trajectory of your organization. Because instead of seeing diminishing returns by keep asking them over and over again for a gift, we can think about this unbelievable world where value actually goes up over time. Lifetime value isn't the most depressing thing to think about. It should grow. Lifetime value should grow. Why is it going to grow? Because you sent more emails? No, it's going to grow because you build relationship, and relationship's going to yield more value over time. A messenger can start to change that behavior. With one of our organizations sending an end-of-year ask, they saw 35x increase in gifts, not because they sent them more messages, but because they were meet people where they were spending time within the context of their daily life and had a simple ask in a crystal clear channel. So what we need to start thinking about is, we want to be relevant. We want to be in a context. We want to build a relationship. And when we start to build a relationship, right, when we ask for advice, we'll then get money. Has anyone ever been at a nonprofit and saying, you know what, our goal is to drive website traffic? That is our singular goal. No one ever does that, right? It's website traffic is always correlated to conversions. We want to increase website traffic, but only if we can drive acquisitions, subscribers. So when we think about what website is and the value of it, it's to be able to get our message, but more so it's to be able to drive conversions to get people to take action. Well, that's the same way that we need to think about social. And as such, impressions are not the goal, ladies and gentlemen, right? Awareness is not the goal. It's part of what we can do, but the end goal is to drive conversions, to go from broadcast to relationships. And if we don't do that, we're going to be stuck with what's happened over the past 25 years. We're going to be stuck in an engine that we built that we're good at acquiring people, and then we just beat them over and over and over again, asking them to give, and they'd stop giving, right? We've created an engine of diminishing returns. We need to flip that. What would it be like if we can acquire someone, and start to build value over time? Well, that's the world that we can start to unlock. We can start to unlock a net new growth channel, not from where people were, but where people are, where they're spending 2 hours a day. And you're not going to do it just by growing the top of the funnel by growing more impressions or more followers. Yes, you should do that, but you also need to drive conversions, subscribers, and then steward those subscribers, get to know them and build relationships that you can count on, that they're going to give not just today or tomorrow, but next year and the year after that. Because what we don't need more of are billboards, driving on the highway, looking at the billboard and just giving the thumbs up, right? That's not going to do anything for you. What do you drive? Relationships that lead to new donors, dollars, and data. And you can all do that by unlocking the black box of social media through direct messaging. Here's what I hear from nonprofits all the time. I don't have enough to do. I wish my job was harder. I wish that it was more difficult. The money just keeps rolling in. And I love operating difficult software. No one's ever said this, right? So at Good United, we built a managed solution. We built an answer for the test. If you're looking for a team, strategy, and technology to help you unlock the black box of social, to get new supporters, donors, dollars, and data, if that's the kind of help that you want, there's a link to book a call below. So now you've got the full 5-part strategy. Pick the right platform, switch from broadcast to conversation, capture supporters into a list that you own, run repeatable campaigns on top of it, and attribute every dollar, every outcome back to its source. If you want to see how this actually scales to a real acquisition engine, the campaign structures, the messaging flows, and the numbers behind them, watch this next video right here. I'll walk you through the whole system end to end. I'll see you over there.